A quiet family dinner, a harmless conversation, and a secret that changes everything. This isn't just a story about a family, it's a chilling tale of betrayal, forbidden desires, and a twist that will haunt you long after the credits roll. The movie begins with Annie, a lawyer, interrogating her client who has been abused. Annie asks her a few questions and advises her to stay calm in court, ensuring she answers all questions truthfully. Meanwhile, the victim's mother is seen speaking to a reporter, answering a few questions. In the next scene, we see Annie jogging towards her gate. She has two beautiful daughters, and her husband Pierre talks to her about his son Theo. Pierre mentions that his mother Rebecca called to inform them that Theo has been detained again for fighting with his teacher. Pierre explains that he won't be able to take the girls to the equestrian center and pleads with Annie to take them along, as he needs to address Theo's situation. Later, Annie speaks to her friend Mina about Theo. She shares that Theo, her stepson, will be staying with them because Pierre wants to bond with his son, seeing this as the perfect opportunity. During their conversation, a man arrives with a child named Lucas, who is brought to Mina. Although annoyed, Mina agrees to take Lucas in, warning him to behave as she still has two more customers to attend to. Annie asks Mina if she could take Lucas along with her girls, but Mina refuses. Instead, Mina joins them for dinner when she comes to pick up Lucas. After dinner, Annie heads home, finding the house messy. While cleaning, she encounters Theo drying his hair in the bathroom. She reminds him not to scatter his belongings around the house, as there's ample closet space in his room. Later that evening, Annie and her family have dinner. Her daughters ask various questions, including why Theo hasn't stayed with them before. Angela, one of the daughters, brings him a handmade key holder as a gift, which Theo gratefully accepts. The next day, Annie is seen making a call as she steps out of her car. She notices Theo playing judo with Serena, one of her daughters, while Angela watches. When Annie joins them, Theo abruptly leaves. That night, Pierre returns home late. He talks to Annie while eating, lamenting about work and drinking heavily. Seeing that he's drunk, Annie helps him freshen up. In their room, Pierre opens up about Theo, mentioning how his son accused him of adopting the girls to ease his guilt for not being there for him. Annie reassures Pierre, telling him that Theo is bonding well with the girls. Later, Pierre finds Theo smoking in his room and advises him not to smoke indoors. Pierre expresses that they are trying to make Theo feel comfortable and expects him to do the same in return. This angers Theo, who asks Pierre to leave. When Pierre insists Theo focus on his studies as exams are approaching, Theo becomes furious and insults his father. Annie visits Mina's store and Mina joins her as they drive back to Annie's house. Upon arrival, Annie finds the house in disarray, with everything scattered. She and Mina clean up and then call Pierre, informing him that their house has been broken into. Theo arrives home and is surprised by the mess. He checks his room for missing items, while Mina comments that Theo didn't greet her. At her office, Annie informs one of her clients, Sarah, that the children's court has decided Sarah may live with her father, making her client happy. Later that day, while doing laundry, Annie finds a key holder in Theo's pocket and confronts him about it. Theo denies stealing anything, attempting to deflect the question. Annie warns him to be on his best behavior. The following day, Annie and Theo prepare to go to the beach. Theo helps her with the beach gear and agrees to join the family. At the beach, Theo bonds with the girls, playing and having fun, which makes everyone happy. On their way home, the girls ask Theo to join them for horse riding the next day. Although Theo says he doesn't know how to ride, he agrees to go. At home, Theo and Annie chat while Theo smokes. He mentions he started smoking at the age of 12 with his mom. Annie suggests he invite friends over, but Theo admits he doesn't have any. They talked for a long time, discussing various topics, joking and laughing together. The next day, Theo brings a girl named Amanda to the house and takes her to his room. At a gathering, Annie and Pierre are having a conversation. However, an uninterested Annie leaves the gathering and sits on the stairs. At this moment, Theo, on his way out, comes out of the garage with his tricycle. He sees his stepmother sitting alone and tells her he is going out to buy cigarettes, asking if she would like to join him. Annie agrees without hesitation, and the two leave the house happily. They stop at a bar for drinks and talk. Annie asks Theo about Amanda, wondering if she is still his girlfriend, but Theo replies that he and Amanda have separate lives. Theo, in turn, asks his stepmother about her love for his father Pierre, and whether it is genuine. Annie dismisses the question immediately. In the middle of their conversation, Amanda calls Theo, and he excuses himself. When Annie gets back home, she notices Pierre is worried. He asks where she went, and she explains she needed some fresh air and took a walk. Pierre is unhappy that Annie left a guest at the gathering, and storms off to the roof in frustration. The next day, Mina comes over to Annie's house with Isaac. While they talk, Theo plays with the three kids. That night, Annie goes to Theo's room and sits on his bed to see what he is watching on his phone. In a shocking turn of events, the stepmother and stepson share an intimate moment. Feeling guilty, Annie expresses her regret, stating it should never happen again. However, Theo reminisces about the incident. Despite her protests, their mutual attraction remains, creating tension. Annie decides to visit Sarah after receiving no response to her numerous calls. When she arrives, Sarah, visibly distressed, asks her to leave immediately. Concerned, Annie makes a call to find out more about Sarah's situation. It's Serena's birthday party, and Annie is busy decorating and preparing. Meanwhile, Theo continues to flirt with her, but Annie brushes him off. Many guests attend the party, including Mina, who leaves immediately after seeing Theo and Annie kissing and flirting. The party ends after a lot of fun and enjoyment. The following day, Annie decides to confront Theo about the incident at the party. They meet in the forest where she tells him she wants to end their inappropriate relationship. Theo protests, accusing her of being mean, but he ultimately promises to keep their affair a secret, even from Pierre. Theo leaves angrily, while Annie returns home to join Pierre at the table. Annie becomes nervous when Pierre mentions Mina called him. However, she feels relieved when she realizes Mina didn't reveal anything about her affair with Theo. Pierre then tells Annie he wants to take Theo out for some bonding time. Left with no choice, Annie agrees and stays home with the girls while they are away. After the outing, Pierre's behavior becomes suspicious, making Annie worry that Theo might have told him about their affair. In their room, Pierre confronts Annie about her relationship with Theo, but she denies it and acts innocent. She insists she cares about both Pierre and Theo and reveals that Theo was responsible for the robbery that happened earlier. She explains she didn't tell Pierre because she hoped Theo would change. Pierre believes her and lets it go. The next day, the three sit together, and Annie confronts Theo, asking him to provide evidence to prove he wasn't responsible for the robbery. Theo storms off to his room, knowing he cannot provide any proof. On Christmas Day, Sarah visits Annie's house to give her a present and thank her for her help. Mina also comes by with Isaac and tells Annie she has forgiven her. Pierre gives Annie a bracelet as a gift. The following morning, Annie is seen at Theo's lawyer's office, where she requests an agreement to be dropped on her table. A helpless Theo sits silently. Later that night, Annie hears a noise outside her house. She wakes up to check and finds Theo. He claims he came to visit her but appears drunk. Theo makes seductive advances toward Annie. At first, she resists, but eventually, they succumb to their attraction and share another intimate moment. Afterward, Annie leaves the room and goes to her husband Pierre. She tells him Theo came over drunk for a quick visit and that she already got a cab for him. A single choice can shatter lives, but what happens when secrets refuse to stay buried? The truth is only the beginning. Hit subscribe and join us next time for more movie recaps that will leave you speechless.